discuss everything related to Arsenal, Liverpool, with a little bit of Man United chat. I'm here with my esteemed guests, Mr. Tamim. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good.
All things considered, after Liverpool's loss against Brentford, I guess.
As well as I can be.
I have the Man United boys. Omar, how you doing?
I'm all good. Can't complain. Happy as Larry. Been a good weekend for us.
And Dawg, how's it going, bro?
All good, man. Dawg.
Fantastic. All right, I wanna. We've spoken about Liverpool, and we'll discuss the Liverpool match. I want to go into the Arsenal Palace today. Arsenal beat Crystal Palace 0, with Mikel Arteta calling it the most important win of the season. I think primarily because it was the third game out of a very tough away and a really tough Palace side. Let me start with you, Dawg, today. Did you watch our match yesterday, or did you watch the highlights?
Yeah, I watched the highlights. I don't think I could put myself through 90 minutes of an Arsenal game unless they're losing. Yeah, look, as Arteta said, it's a great win for Arsenal. And as I've been saying over the past few weeks, Arsenal needs to win games like this if they're going to be serious contenders for the title. It's all good other teams losing, but if Arsenal's not going to kind of capitalise, then, what's the point in even saying you're title contenders? So, yeah, good win for Arsenal, I would say, begrudgingly.
I think this was one area that, especially last season, Arsenal weren't able to really capitalise on. There were a couple of games where Liverpool kind of drew, and we couldn't really put the pressure on. We ended up drawing. I remember the Everton match. I remember that weekend Liverpool drawing, and we ended up drawing ourselves 0-0. So it does seem to be a bit of a right-wrong as well from last year. I think what made that result better was the fact that we also had City losing at Aston Villa to kind of really extend that lead. Oh, did you watch the Arsenal game or see the highlights?
I saw bits and bobs on it. I had the Sky multi-view thing on, so I was it was just flicking between the matches there. So I saw bits here and there.
Yeah. Tamim, what was your thoughts?
I didn't watch it either. I was out for with the family, but from what it looked like you got the job done. It looked like I could be wrong, but it seemed like it was quite a boring sort of game. Yeah, it looked like quite a sort of boring game, but for Arsenal in a good way. Like it was a little pass the ball around, contain, keep possession, got your chances, and apparently Crystal Palace didn't have a shot, did they? So that's a great, look on Arsenal's defence.
Yeah, there was
midfield even.
There was technically a shot on goal where Eddie Nketiah basically headed the ball into Raya's hands, and Raya just kind of like smothered the shot, and that was like the first shot on goal in like 67th minute or something like that. Yeah, I mean, just to echo that, like the one thing that rivals have been accusing Arsenal of this year is being a boring team. I think we could argue that title-winning sides generally are quite boring in some ways. If you think about some of the best City sides, death by 100,000 passes from some of the peak City sides from Pep. Going back to some of the kind of Mourinho sides as well, which at the moment Arsenal are on course to beating that defensive record. Still only 3 goals conceded currently. So it is looking good from that perspective. The one thing which the Athletic led with today, this morning, was, is it Arsenal's title to lose? I'll say my piece for the end, but does anyone have any strong thoughts on this? Maybe you, Dawg.
No, 100%. Absolutely. I thought, okay, if Liverpool aren't going to perform, maybe Man City could still provide a worthy challenge. But seeing City and Liverpool lose in the same weekend, it does make me feel like this might be Arsenal's year. And as I've said before, Arsenal's biggest enemy won't be the other teams, it'll be themselves. Can they handle the pressure? 7 points is massive, really big in the context. And all Arsenal needs to do right now is just win or draw, which isn't that big an issue, I suppose, for a team like that. It is their title to lose. I wouldn't get too excited, though. I mean, it's nice to kind of be in this position, but I think this is probably the first time in the last few years I've seen Arsenal so ahead of others. And that's why I feel like, okay, maybe the league is pretty much half theirs now. But it's just can they handle the pressure? I mean, that's been their biggest challenge over the last few years, and it will continue to be their challenge this year. I am half expecting Man United to kind of potentially compete and then fall away. City to probably regain some ground and then fall away. Liverpool, I don't know. I did say last time if they lose a few more games. So yeah, Arsenal are definitely in the driving seat, but they just need to keep focusing on each game. They have to park the bus. Boring football will win you games. And that is ultimately what Arsenal should be aiming for this season, trying to actually win some silverware.
Yeah, I think I agree with most of the thoughts, most of the sentiments there. It's still so early. Like we're literally 9 games in. We're still in October. I think the stats in terms of like the supercomputers and the odds were like 64% favourites. I think Liverpool is on Arsenal to try a title. Did I cut off there?
Slightly.
Yeah, okay. The onus is on Arsenal to try and win this league and kind of keep it consistent. One thing that you said there, Dawg, I think, which kind of resonated with me in terms of Arsenal are probably the biggest enemies to win this league. The one thing which could scupper us, which did scupper us last season, is injuries. We saw last year, essentially all of our forward line getting injured. Saka, Havertz, Gabriel, all needing hamstring surgeries. And even yesterday, in yesterday's match, Saka was playing when he was basically ill. And I had to take him off after 64 minutes. Didn't want to risk an injury to him. At halftime, Saliba went off with a knock. There's still been no news about what's happened to him, which does concern me slightly. Because if it was just a knock, I'm sure Arteta or the club would have said something by now. But yeah, it's a bit worrying. We haven't heard any news on Saliba. The last kind of 15 minutes, Declan Rice went down with a knock. He was holding his calf or hamstring, and as did Ricardo Calafiori. So a number of injuries that are kind of stuck up, and we're still missing Odegaard, we're still missing Havertz, we're still missing Madueke. So yeah, if there's anything that can stop Arsenal, it's a big injury for me. It's to the likes of Saka, to the likes of Gabriel, even Rice. That spine of that team, if they kind of get injured, and yeah, we've strengthened in depth, but the top teams will struggle without their star players. It doesn't matter who you are. Liverpool would struggle without Salah. City will struggle without Haaland. Arsenal need to avoid injury to try and kind of stay in the driving seat, essentially. Okay. I do want to praise Crystal Palace yesterday. They were really, really organised. Mateta was always a threat, kind of running in behind. They were really compact. They played Arsenal on the counter-attack and set up in a very strong mid-block, which a lot of teams do. And the question which I think Liberty posed on one of our shorts earlier this week was, are Arsenal too over-reliant on set pieces? It was a set piece that kind of won us this match when Eze kind of smashed it in from a volley. What are your thoughts, Tamim? Like, are Arsenal over too reliant on set pieces to kind of get us through matches, and is it a problem?
Sorry, I was on mute there, wasn't I? Sorry, I'll start that again. I don't think you're too over reliant on set pieces. I think it's a very strong weapon of yours, but it's not the only weapon that you guys have. I think in terms of the attack, you have a very strong front line, and you've got depth now as well. You've got Madueke to back up Saka. You've got Gyökeres, who's been firing them in. You've got Havertz still yet to come back. You've got Martinelli and Trossard for the left wing. That's solid. That's a solid 6 in attack. You've got people that can score from midfield as well. You've got Rice that can chip in, Odegaard. I don't think you're too reliant on set pieces at all. I just think you've taken advantage of the opportunities that you have, and it's an area of the game. Ultimately, it's a part of the game. Whether you score from open play, long shots, corners, free kicks, throw-ins, it's one way to unlock the puzzle. So, no, I think you guys have done really well, and I think what's the biggest game changer is your defense. Really, I think defense wins titles, and you've got the most balance, in my opinion, of all the squads in the Premier League. I think your defense is solid, and even if you have a really bad game, let's say an open play attacking wise, you've got that safety net, knowing that the opponent will barely have a sniff on goal, and you've got a solid defense and a solid keeper with that as well. So no, I don't think you guys are too over-reliant on set pieces at all.
Dawg, do you have a thought on this?
I feel like, with all due respect, I think Arsenal supporters are just too they're too paranoid. They overthink too much. All this stuff about being a set piece team, it's all working in Arsenal's favour. I don't see issues with that. At the end of the day, for a team like, with all due respect, I think this team has been underperforming quite a lot for the past few years. You would think that the talent that they have, the philosophy that they have at the club, the stability they have, the kind of players that they got in their Arsenal, excuse the pun, they should have won something a long time ago. So I think, all these kind of criticisms of set piece team and this and that, it's just background noise. They're doing fine so far. I was going to ask you, wouldn't you rather Arsenal have injuries now as opposed to later on, such as the lead? I mean, it's 7 points at the moment. I suspect over next week will probably go up to 10, maybe 9. I mean, isn't that a good problem to have?
I mean, who do Liverpool have next week? Well, if we're talking about the lead over Liverpool, it's only 4 over Bournemouth at the moment. But
Bournemouth, sorry,
Bournemouth in the league, they're
Bournemouth in the Champions League, Pucker Pies. Sorry,
it's possible. And speaking of which, if we're still considering Liverpool title contenders, are Man United title contenders? I mean, Man United 3 wins on the bounce. Have they entered the title race?
How inappropriate can I make this pod with the reference I'm going to have? I won't say it, but with United, it's just temporary, relief. They're going to get humbled anytime soon. I'm more concerned about that guy who's not cutting his hair until Man United win 5 games in a row.
He's almost there. He's almost there.
But I feel like, haven't they got Chelsea in the 5th game or something?
They beat Chelsea as one of them, so yeah, I'm not sure.
I can't remember who they've got in the 5th game. They've got somebody quite potent coming up, but yeah, with United, I just it's they're weird. I can't believe people are celebrating them winning 3 games back to back. How the mighty have fallen. But yeah, Omar, do you want to jump in as well? I just feel like you're just observing us in the corner. No,
I'm just having a quick check to see who the 5th match is. So I know we've got to win Nottingham Forest next. I'm just trying to find who are.
I expect you to beat Nottingham Forest, to be fair.
Tottenham, that's who they've got on the 8th of November.
Team on form.
That'd be a good game.
5th match is going to be a tricky one there. Yeah. But yeah, in theory, we should beat Nottingham Forest, but we're such a up and down team. I mean, Nottingham Forest did the double last year against us, and now they've got Sean Dyche in, so he'll be setting them up to, not lose basically. If I'm correct as well, I think it's his first home league game since taking over, if I'm correct. So there might be an element of new manager bouncing there as well. So I don't think it's a dead ringer for us, but in theory, with our form and versus their form, we should be taking the points. But as I said, you can never predict it with United, because one day we're, prime treble winning team, and the next week we're losing to Grimsby. So
this is why I'd love to have a Gattuso soundbite saying sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
No, I'm a big believer in stats, and like Manu have been topping the XG stats since the beginning of the season. So eventually they'll come good. I do think they'll turn a corner. I think you guys will beat Nottingham Forest next week.
We're heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
I just think we still need more time before we become title contenders. And if anything, if for whatever reason we do become title contenders, it will probably be more a case of everyone else has fallen off rather than we've pushed on.
Yeah. That will be a massive surprise considering where you'd finished last year as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see. Speaking of title contenders, let's talk about Liverpool now. So it's a nice kind of pivot there. Are Liverpool out of the title race, Tamim? Is it done for them?
I think it's a very tall order now, for sure. Very tall order. Because in terms of like the mathematics and the time of the season, you could say no for sure. Because 7 points, you'd think that's not a huge amount, especially in October. But it's not about the points difference. It's more about how we look right now. And we look like way off what a title challenging team should be. Like to the point where I'm even worrying about the sort of top 4, top 5 race at this point, because our defense is way off it. We've conceded 14 goals, I think, already, versus you guys who have only conceded 3. We've conceded the same amount as, I think we're actually more than Tottenham, a similar amount to Man United, more than Man City. Yeah, defense, as I said, actually, like 10 minutes before, I think defense is what wins titles, and we're miles off it right now. Even if our attack clicks and we make up for it with a large amount of goals, I think the uncertainty we have at the back with our defending, with the lack of cohesion between the fullbacks, the midfielders, the centre backs, and even our goalkeeper, which I'm not fully sure of Mamadashvili yet. I think he's made some couple of good saves, but I can't wait for Alisson to come back. He's been our safety net for a long time. There's been really bad games we had even defensively last year and even under Klopp. But just knowing Alisson is there when the one-on-ones are there, there's a different kind of confidence there. So, I'm pretty worried about even the top 4, as I said, the top 4, top 5 race. The Brentford game was terrible. It's the same thing as the last few games. Again, the defending was poor. We're trying to play this high line, but our fullbacks are bombing forward. One game it looks like Kirkez is instructed to stay back as the third centre-back, but he doesn't suit that role at all. And then another game it looks like he's been told to bomb forward, but then Gakpo's not giving him the passes. Midfielders aren't giving him the passes. And even if he does bomb forward, then we're exposed on the left side or we're exposed on the right side because Bradley or Frimpong has been going forward. That's leaving Van Dijk and Konate in a high line, and they can't quite do that anymore. Whether for Van Dijk it's an age decline sort of thing, and Konate, not sure if it's a mental thing with the whole Real Madrid rumours and everything, but he's just been way off it as well. He's not been a top quality centre-back this season at all. So we can't play this high line. We can't play this game where we're trying to suffocate the opposition in their half, because it's pretty easy for oppositions to play against us. They can happily sit back, let us have the ball, pass it around a bit, and when they get their attack opportunity, they will look dangerous. I think we're one of the worst teams in the transitions right now. Definitely one of the worst teams. So it's all not working out well at all. And that's the test, that's the challenge for Slot to figure out. As I said a few times, I think he will eventually figure it out. But by the time he does, I mean, how many more losses will it be? How many more draws will it be? 7 points will turn into 10, 12, yeah. So I think it's a tall order to be back in the title race unless something drastic happens. And I think we need to sign a centre back in January for sure. And that's not even to say to get us back in the title race. That's to actually secure our top 4 position right now, in my opinion. But there's a few shining lights. I wanted to talk about Szoboszlai. I think he had a great game, and I think he's really cementing his place in that 8 position, the box-to-box sort of midfield position. Last year, he played a bit further forward, and I wasn't sure if he was suited to that attacking midfield role because he seemed to slightly off it in those sort of spaces with the final pass, with the maybe final decision making. But as a deeper midfielder with his physical attributes, with his long range passing ability, I think he's a beast. He's an absolute beast. And I was actually quite happy with our midfield in the Brentford game. Like, we kept the ball pretty well. We were playing nice sort of passes around with Jones, who also played brilliant in the pivot. I think he's on form right now, starts over McAllister. Not sure what's going on with McAllister, but I've never been confident fully with McAllister in the pivot anyway. I think he's just been there as a makeshift, and he did a good job last season for it, and under Klopp as well, but he's more of an attacking midfielder by nature, I think. But that's him and Wirtz to fight it out, in my opinion, for that position. But and also Wirtz, as I was saying in the group, I think Wirtz had a good game. And I know, regardless of slander and the money we spent, he should be doing better, of course. Ultimately, if you're spending over 100 mil on a player, you're expecting goals and assists. So you can say he's not been good enough. He clearly hasn't been good enough. But I'm not too worried about him. Again, him and Szoboszlai were our 2 best players against Brentford. Some of the passes and the touches that Wirtz was doing was like no other player was doing that on the pitch for us. But ultimately, if the passes aren't being buried, he's not going to get the assist. And fair enough. He wasn't much of a goal threat in terms of shooting and scoring, so fair enough to that. But there's a lot of issues there. I think the Salah issue still exists, even though he got his goal. That sort of papered over again the issue there on the right side. Yeah, there's a big issue there. He's almost like wanting to play like an inside forward, which he always has done, of course, for us. But he did contribute to a bit more than just being a goal scorer. But it's not working, especially if like the creativity from Trent is missing. If we've got that creativity missing from the right-hand side, then I feel like Salah needs to be doing a bit more on that side. And he was having a really bad performance until his goal, a really bad performance. He's anonymous. A lot of the attacks died with him as well. It was bad. And in a way, I know this sounds like bad to say, but I kind of wish someone else scored. I know that's maybe it's a very weird thing to say, but it felt like it papered over Salah's performance, in my opinion. And he's a legend.
It was a great finish, though. It was a brilliant finish. It was with his weaker foot as well, wasn't it? How he played. He's still got that, finishing ability. He's got that, world-class ability to score, but right now it's just not enough on that right side, in my opinion, especially where the team is gelling together, especially where Trent isn't quite, that creativity isn't there from Trent. We need to be doing more on that right side. So that was and also I wanted to finish with Kerkez. I feel like with Kerkez, I really don't know if he was the right signing for that left side or not. I really don't, and I had my doubts when we first bought him, because when I saw him in Bournemouth, he looked great in Bournemouth, where he had a lot of space to attack, and as a running up and down the sort of pitch, endless energy, pace, a great physical left back. But for a team that Slot is trying to build possession based, and being good on close control and good short passing ability, that sort of thing,
I never really saw that from Kirkes at Bournemouth. He was more of a run up and down the pitch, cross it in, or score from, the left side. He's a good left back, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if it's quite the right stylistic fit for us. Maybe we'll come good. I'm sure, hopefully adaptation again. That's another test for Slot as well, trying to figure out Kirkes. But I feel like Robertson should be starting right now, in my opinion. He's still, the couple of times he's played some quality passes to Ekitike, got a couple of assists before assists, which Kirkes hasn't done yet. So, a lot of issues there, a lot to figure out, and already 7 points behind. It's a tall order to try and be in that title race. We need to fix a lot of things.
Omar, you wanted to come in on something Tamim said earlier.
Sorry. It was just about the goalkeeping situation in terms of the importance of it. You can see the difference in United's defense with Sané Lemons in goal versus Onan and Bayende, and just sort of how you mentioned Mamardashvili doesn't seem like he has the entire confidence of the defense. So it's a sort of similar situation. How big a difference it does make now that we've got Lemons there. He comes out a lot more. He attacks the ball a lot better, and just seems a lot more solid in holding onto that ball compared to what we had before. I'm not sure if you've noticed anything similar with Mamardashvili.
Yeah, actually, that's reminded me of. I'm not sure if it was the second goal or the first one, but it was where we got caught. Like nice ball through the defense again a high line. The striker literally just breezed past Konate and Van Dijk one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Usually Alisson would come out slightly and sort of close down that space and make it very awkward. But I was looking at Mamardashvili and he was just staying on his line. I was like, man, at least come out, do something. You're making it look easy. And it was really an easy finish for the striker. And in the striker, it was a pretty poor finish. He hit it straight at Mamardashvili. But because Mamardashvili was quite far back and even the dive itself was pretty poor, I think it ended up going through his legs and it was just poor keeping. And that really made me miss Alisson. So that is reminding me of that sort of confidence, that safety blanket. And what you're saying about your keeper at United, he did really well even against us when Salah had that chance, that 1v1 where the cross came into him, and I think Lemons made himself really big and closed down the space. I can see that difference between Lemons and Onana for sure. And I don't quite have that confidence with Mamardashvili yet. But apparently he's well rated at Valencia, and he's quite young, so I'm not going to write him off after one game. But that confidence isn't there, and I felt like he could have done better with 1 or 2 goals against Brentford.
I think that issue of kind of like playing out from the back, having that extra option. I think Mamardashvili didn't look confident whenever the press was put on him. I remember a couple of times he ended up kicking the ball into touch rather than, doing what Alisson would normally do and just kind of being able to play out kind of confidently.
There was that as well.
Well, one thing I wanted to touch on, but maybe before we wrap up, was Slot's comments. It seems like it's a weekly segment on our show. But before the game, like he was very, very honest, maybe too honest about his weakness in terms of like struggling with long balls. He mentioned the amount of times that United went over the top. And of course, Brentford being coached by an ex-set piece coach is, essentially gonna exploit that. Essentially, what do you think? Do you think Slot was being kind of too honest, almost kind of naive there? Again, I've seen some people accusing him of almost making excuses. I mean, what's your thoughts on Slot, Tamim?
So those, I've read it more than sort of listened to it. I've not sort of sat down and listened to the whole sort of press conferences. I've sort of just got it off like, WhatsApp conversations or screenshots, etc. So it's hard to maybe judge it well, but definitely from the quotes I'm sort of reading, he's maybe not coming off very well at all in post-match sort of interviews or pre-game press conferences. In terms of about sort of openly stating our weaknesses, I'm not sure if that's too much of a big issue, because I feel like teams, especially in this data-led football sort of, the way football is now, I think teams would know anyway. I think he's not revealing any sort of secrets there. I think it's that sort of Dutch honesty where he's just sort of just saying it, what's in his head sort of thing. And even the excuses, I think certainly he's not coming off as a great loser. That doesn't sort of bother me too much, because Klopp wasn't a great loser himself. Like, he used to come out with some funny stuff after losing games, and a lot of great managers that have done way more than sort of slot, like, Mourinho, Fergie, they when they did lose, they, you could sense the frustration in the interviews after, and they weren't the best losers either. So I'm not too fussed about maybe the losing, being a sore loser. I'm not too fussed about that bit. But I would, for me, it's more about what actions is he going to take. I want to see changes in the games, I want to see results happening. But certainly, he needs to take accountability, whether he wants to say out loud to the media or not. I hope at least internally he's taking accountability and realizing he's making mistakes and he's not really fixing the mistakes there. So I hope at least there's, at the very minimum, internal accountability. That's what I'm hoping for. But in terms of that's the minimum I'm sort of hoping for from him.
Omar, did you have a point that you want to come in on for Tamim?
No, I just saw some rumours today of the Liverpool management considering a return for Klopp. What are your thoughts on that, if they're true?
So was that from that Stephen Bartlett interview, or was that some other source?
No, some other sources. It was more like, Twitter mumbling and grumblings. I've not seen any sort of verifiable talks on it.
I think I would love that. I think every Liverpool fan would love that happening one day for sure. I feel like I think the rumors may be coming up more so, especially with how we're doing right now. It's the timing, the season, the sort of the poor form, etc. So I feel a little bit bad for Slot right now. If the question was posed to me right now, would I take Klopp right now, as of this moment? I would say no. I'd say give Slot has earned sort of credit in the bank with winning us the league last season, so he deserves a chance to turn this around and show like whether he can pass this test or not. Because last season you could say he didn't have very many tests. He did have a couple, but our injury record wasn't that bad last season. Arsenal had a bad injury record. Man City is not the Man City of the old, so you could argue those sort of things. I think Slot deserves time for sure, just purely based on the league win. He deserves the time and the test to turn it around. But for sure, one day, I'd love to have Klopp return. There's always that whole, will it be the same Klopp returning? Will it be the same manager returning? Just like there's been in plenty of other clubs, like Mourinho 2.0 Dawg coming back to Liverpool, even though he won us league titles, but that was like a couple of decades before, so football had moved on by then. So I'd love, in theory, Klopp to return, but maybe it's got to be the right time, which I think it's not anytime soon.
Do you think, Tamim, that Liverpool are probably thinking about Man United and how when they had David Moyes, and just sort of thinking they don't want to go down that path where if they don't get Klopp involved now, they might just end up having to sack him, and then they're kind of restarting the whole process?
Oh, in terms of like with Slot, like sort of cut us his short sort of thing. I feel like there's a couple of ways to think about that. I think that there's also the aspect of just sacking managers too soon, sort of going down that route and then messing things up for the long term, where maybe being a bit too rash with decision making and not giving managers enough time. For example, even you could argue Amorim, although like it's still early days, but Amorim has had a great start to the season, hasn't he? Like, although yeah, the Grimsby result, etc., but the last sort of few results have been very good for Amorim and Man United, and they're sort of in that top 5 now at the moment. But Amorim, was on the brink many times. You could argue that he was close to getting sacked, and he's been at United for what, a season and a half now, but yeah, over a year, and about a year, is it? Yeah. So he had a very bad season last year. He had a tough start to the league in the first few games, but they've not sacked him, and the long-term thinking of maybe keeping him might pay off. And I'd rather we take that approach, especially where Slot has given us results, and I feel like it'd be foolish to sack him now. I think it'd be fair to give him that time to pass this test if he can pass it, and if he can or not, then later on, we can have a look, we can review that. But I think it'd be too early. I think Klopp would always have us in our hearts, so I don't think we'd ever miss an opportunity with Klopp. The deep connection he has to Liverpool, even if we go back to him 2-3 years later in life, then I think he'd jump at the chance. So Klopp will always be there.
Dawg?
I hate to say this, as I know Danyaal's going to end up smiling like a Cheshire cat. But this is where I really admire Arsenal's stability. If you look at all the major managers of the top 6 right now, you could probably argue that Arteta has probably had the biggest reason to not stay in his job just because of the silverware. But Arsenal have stuck to him. Sure, it may not have yielded any of like trophies, but you can see the Arsenal project begin to sort of come to fruition now. So yeah, I think I kind of expect rash decisions from Man United, not Liverpool. Yeah, I don't think I'd want Klopp back either. I think it'll kind of tarnish his legacy a bit. It almost makes them like a one-manager team. I remember when people used to say, bring back Alex Ferguson in his 80s to United, bring him out in the wheelchair. Yeah.
Arsenal fans said the same thing about Wenger. We were trying to go under Emery in the early Arteta days. Yeah.
I just remembered Wenger's in the interview. Wait later. I miss Emery though, man. Bring him back. Honestly, I'd love to have him at Man United. He'd be amazing. I know you love him, Danyaal, don't you?
But
so
my history with Unai runs deep. Arsenal fans have been scarred by Unai Emery. That's why I was even more surprised that they managed to pull off a victory against City yesterday. To make it even more funnier. Or we've got League Cup happening in midweek. Who has Liverpool got, Tamim?
The last team on our face right now, Crystal Palace.
Is that home, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Tricky tie.
Tricky.
We've got Brighton, which is also a tricky tie. I think Brighton will probably go for it, and we're going to be resting players, so it'll be quite interesting. Who have United got? Or who Grimsby Town got, should we say?
Sorry, Omar, should we ask him how many Champions Leagues are we? That's what I thought about. That's right. Go back to sleep, innit?
Let's move track to Premier League. Arsenal have Burnley on Saturday at the 3:00 away from home at Turf Moor, which will be a tough match. It's not going to be a walkover by any stretch of the means. But let's see how we get through Brighton first. But that's our fixture. Who have Liverpool got, Tamim? I think you mentioned.
We have Villa. We're at home.
Ooh,
but yeah,
also tricky tie. Yeah.
Tough game.
Yeah, and United have Forest away, right?
Yeah.
Let's quickly do some predictions, and then we can wrap the stream up. Let's go with you, Tamim. So some predictions for the United match versus Forest.
United Forest. I'm going for a boring 0-0.
Interesting. Omar?
2-1 United.
Dawg?
3-0 to United.
Yeah, I think United will win this one at 2-0. let's go for the Liverpool Villa match. I'm going to go for a 2-2. Villa have turned a corner, and Liverpool are at home. Dawg.
2-1 to Villa.
Ooh, okay. Omar.
2.
2 as well. Tamim.
I'm going 2-1 to Liverpool. I feel like we'll have a slightly easier time than against Brentford.
Yeah.
So I feel like Villa will try and come at us.
Interesting. Okay. I'll let you guys go first for the Burnley Arsenal score. Dawg.
Burnley 7-1. Just kidding. No. Arsenal win about 5-0, I think. Honestly, yeah.
Okay. Omar.
Arsenal 2-0.
Yeah. Tamim.
3-0 Arsenal.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those like tight games where we'll need a set piece to open it up, and then it might be 2-0 or 3-0. I think to Arsenal in the end. But let's see. I think we've gone on long enough. Thank you to all our listeners. If you're watching, please drop a like, a comment, and a sub to us. We much appreciate it. Going past midnight here. Thank you to everyone. Hopefully we'll be back after next week's fixtures. Thank you very much, guys. Any closing thoughts for anyone?
All good. Everyone have a nice evening.
Thank you very much, guys. Take it easy.
Cheers, guys. Take